Hello guys, what's Ponodivs here. This is going to be my third episode of What If Bell Was a Spartan Knight. In the last episode, him and Ice tragically died while winning against Bell's uncle. And now, both of them were resurrected. Bell was resurrected into an communist family, while Ice was resurrected into the imperial family of the Imperium of... what would be a good name? Let's say the Imperium of... Orion. Yes, that sounds good. So, Ice was born as the princess of the Imperium of Orion, while Bell was simply born as a commoner there. Bell's father was a former mercenary, currently working as the village's guard, that being the person who defends the village from any sort of monster attacks. While Bell's mother was a healer which used to work for the army, and that's how both of them met in a war. Yes, love always comes from weird places. On a battlefield, should I be said more often. And well, unlike Bell's past life, Bell now had an affinity for arcane magic. And I'm not, although I do know what arcane magic is like, well, used to video games, I'm gonna say that it's a bit different here. Let's say that if Bell wants to use a spell of arcane magic, he needs to first, how do I say this, give up something. That being giving up a life. Let's say that he uses a flower. He sucks up all of the life from that flower and then uses it in one of his spells. And he can also use that on humans, and basically he sacrifices the living energy of something, that being like a plant, flower, animal, or anything else really, to cast spells. While Ice was born with 3 different affinities. That being for water, ice, and lightning magic. So, now, both of them lived a pretty normal lives for the first, let's say, 6 years. But then Ice went ahead and was going to get trained how to be a proper lady, while Belle started getting trained on how to use a sword by his father. Oh crap, I actually didn't say this. So, since they did get resurrected, both of them lost most of their memories. With them not they do remember who they used to were, with Bell remembering that he was the past king of a nation called Sparta, although currently Sparta in this world doesn't exist. Neither does the kingdom of Syracuse, which Ice was the queen of. And although both Bell and Ice do feel some sort of affection toward each other, although they do not know why. They also remember their, gods. Bell remembers Hestia, while Ice remembers Hera. And let's say that the Imperium of Orion's main goddess is, let's say Hera. That sounds good. And that was going on. Let's say that the imperial family of Orion, Ice's parents, were rather, let's say, warlike. And they wanted to basically train their daughter from the earliest age they could. So, as soon as of course, she was first taught how to act like a lady, and then after that, she was getting trained by her father how to use a sword and a spear, that is, how to use a spear, when her mother basically teaching her how to use magic, because her mother's magic affinities were with lightning and ice. So she could teach her that, although not that much about water. That was used for the court's mage. While meanwhile, Bell was trying to figure out how to use his arcane magic, and he was being taught by his father how to use a sword and how to shoot a bow, while his mother taught him all different sorts of healing things, that being what herbs are the best and which herbs to use for different illnesses. And, alright, I also didn't show how exactly will eyes look like. This is basically going to be Eyes, as you can see. I couldn't exactly find one where she doesn't have the helmet, but I think that you guys are gonna get it here. And also, Eyes' hair in this one is actually, how do I say this, blood red. That's like the, how do you say it, the main feature of the royal family of the Imperium of Orion. While Bel's hair, let's say that he has, just like in the anime, white hair. And well, as he was stuff like that, let's say that after 2 more years, with both Eyes and Bell being 8 years old now, that Bell's village gets attacked by... what would be good? Bandits are a bit too cliche. Let's go with orcs. Yes, let's say that a band of like 50 orcs attacked the village. And Bell's father went ahead along with the rest of the villagers' guard, along with some knights which just happened to well, get into the village because of they had something to do there. And let's just say that they also helped in the defense of the village. It was about 50 orcs, along with, let's say, 8 of them riding on... yes, let's say that 8 of them were riding on wargs. That being basically gigantic hyenas, which orcs use like horses. And well, there was about 30 guards of the village and 10 knights. Yes, that should be adequate enough. Now, as they started battling, 2 of the warg riders basically went ahead and tried to attack the civilians. Bell used his know-how to basically grab a bow, use his bow, although it was a crudely made bow, although he was still able to shoot the orc right in between his eyes, so the orc fell down and died basically immediately. The warg, which the orc was riding on, then immediately went ahead and tried and killed a civilian, sadly, one of the villagers which was there. And well, at that point, a knight, basically, of the Imperium of Orion, being one of the royal knights of the royal family, because they were sent to this village to speak to Bell's father, because he used to be a mercenary which was hired by the emperor to basically go to war on his behalf. And that's why they were there. Let's say that the captain of these knights was the one who went ahead and tried to save the civilians. He saw that one of the orcs was dead, and while he just killed the warg, that the second orc riding his, well, warg, went ahead and tried to attack him from behind. But that's when Bell went ahead and used his sword to basically cut into the warg. So the warg was killed and the orc fell down on his back, which at that point the knight captain simply stabbed his sword right through his throat. And well, the captain of the knights was rather impressed because Bell was technically the one who helped him kill both of the orcs. That is, Bell killed one of the orcs and one of the wargs all on his own. And well, after that was done, the orcs were repelled because their captain, their chieftain, which was the one who orchestrated the attack, was killed by Bell's father. So the remaining orcs just basically scurried off into the sunset, basically running away with their tails between their legs. And that's when the captain of the knights went ahead and spoke to Bell's father, with Bell's father introducing the captain to Bell, with the captain really not being surprised. Like, he was surprised that a child could kill an orc all on his own, but when he heard that he was the son of the infamous mercenary, which was Bell's father, let's give him a name. How about Michael? Yes, the infamous... Actually, yeah, why not? The infamous dragon killer, Michael. Something which Michael didn't say to Bell, because he didn't want Bell to know about the legends about him, or well, as he was a war hero, basically. Bell was astonished and surprised that his father was one of the few dragon killers which were on the continent currently. And well, the captain of the knights actually offered a proposal to Bell's father. That being that he would take Bell as an apprentice knight, or more frequently called a squire. Needless to say, Bell's father was a bit surprised by it, but basically him and the knight's captain were best friends, so of course he immediately agreed with it, and well, Bell's mother and father simply said goodbye to their son. As the knight's captain finished the business which he had to with Bell's father, and Bell went off with them. And they arrived at a, let's say, a rather large town, as they went to the local guild, that being for adventurers and all that. Also, one more thing, unlike the anime, I'm going to say that familiars are a bit more widespread here, meaning that basically almost every single knight in every single kingdom basically has a familia, and that the adventurers are also part of the familias, although they can be from different familias, and that's basically it. And also I'm gonna say that instead of there being only one dungeon, that being like the one in the city of Arario, that there's gonna be dozens of them scattered all around the different continents of the world, and in different kingdoms as well. And no, actually, there's gonna be 20 main dungeons, that being like the gigantic ones which have God knows how many levels. Then there's going to be hundreds of other smaller ones, that being like either abandoned castles where monsters currently are, or caves where goblins reside, or even some entire forests which are spawned with like gigantic spiders and all of that. So that's basically going to be what's going to be different from the anime. And as they go there, the captain of the knights basically takes Bell to the guild, where both of them simply reaffirm Bell as being the squire of the captain of the knights. Let's call him... what would be a good name for him? Jack. Yeah, that sounds good. The captain of the Royal Knights, Jack. And well, Jack begins to train Bell, that with him being able to use his bastard sword, although he has also... Actually no, Bell was trained just in using the one-handed sword and the bastard sword, along with a crossbow and a regular bow. And also Bell was finally taken to a sorcerer, which taught him how to properly use his arcane magic. Because although arcane magic did require somebody to use another being's life to cast it, it was an extremely powerful type of magic, which was basically used for both defense and offense. In some cases, people who were skilled enough would even use it for healing other people, basically taking a life from, let's say, another person and giving it to another, basically healing him immediately. Although Bell wasn't at that level currently, he could only use some offensive magic, which that being basically, let's say that he could use arcane spells like arcane lightning and arcane fire. Those are basically the two of them. Although, keep in mind that although the arcane spells would use basically different types of elements, and also even something which people never even knew about, like wards, curses and all that stuff, keep in mind that they were usually not as, that is, some of them were just as powerful as the real thing. That being, if somebody had an affinity for lightning magic and the Bell, and that lightning magic user went head to head with both of them using lightning magic, just with Bell using arcane lightning magic, basically Bell would almost always lose if he just didn't, let's see. So, if Bell was to sacrifice, let's say, just a flower, he could still use magic, because that was still life energy, but he could basically create a lightning which just shocked somebody, like not kill them or not even make them unconscious, just shock them. If he was to use his own life energy, or a magical crystal, basically from a monster, he could use the arcane magic a bit more efficiently. Or, well, depending on how powerful the monster gem was, or the monster crystal was, he could use more and more powerful attack spells, or defensive spells. So as he went there, the captain, the sorcerer, gave him let's say zombie dogs, basically what's it called, crystal. And well, Bell then started training with it. Oh, and also, if you guys are wondering where his crystal was, this is going to be Bell's armor, which is going to be carrying in the future. Actually, wait, no. Let's just skip another. Actually, wait, no. Let's go back to Eyes. Eyes was being learned. She had the sorcerers, which one of her family's imperial mages and sorcerers, trained her using her magic. She became extremely efficient with it, with the most effective, that is, affinity she had would be with lightning magic. She learned it basically to the point of perfection, which with some of her spells not even needing to be casted, but they were still extremely powerful. Not as powerful as casted spells, but still. If you were to put them on a power ranking, let's say that casted spells, or at least cast medium levels like casted spells, would be around rank 7, and uncasted spells will be always around the rank 3 or 4. While meanwhile, Ice's spells would be level 6 or 7. Basically the same if somebody was to, how do I say it, say the spell out loud, like doing in an incantation. Ice didn't have to do that, and her spells would always be powerful. And also, she was taught by also another, that is, the female captain of the female knights. That being that there's like two different, how do you say it, squads of imperial knights. One being the male and the other being the females. And then there are also the female mages and the male sorcerers. And basically like that. So she became extremely proficient in using, well, I can't exactly say spear because currently she's has a sword here. So let's say that she was proficient at both a sword and a spear, although she liked using a very large shield, basically covering most of her body, and a sword. And now let's say that a couple of years pass. Both Belle and Eyes are currently, let's say, from 8 years old to 15 years old. Belle was given some light armor, so not exactly too good, but not too bad either. And, let's say, a broadsword, that is a bastard sword. And he was sent to his first mission along with some other squires. So, a group of about 20 knights and 30 squires went ahead and they were sent to destroy basically in a bandit, fort, which it used to be in a fort belonging to the belonging to the Imperium, but after it was abandoned, it was basically taken over by the bandits. But after all of that, there was about 60 bandits there, while there was about 20 knights and 30 squires with the Belle's group. So it was an uneven battle, since the bandits did hold a numerical advantage, but the knights and squires had better equipment and armor. So they began the battle, with the bandits having about 30 of their spearmen attack them from the front, while the knights and most of the squires also attacked. Let's say that 15 knights and 20 squires attacked the front, while the other knights and squires were held in reserves, with Bell being one of the squires which was in front. He quickly killed about 4 bandits and was able to basically push through them. Now, as he was in there, he noticed that several groups of archers were also coming there. So, as he saw that, he quickly stabbed another bandit through his chest, not killing him, Then then he basically took the life force after that bandit and used an arcane lightning, which basically destroyed the entire position where the archers were. That being two groups of the archers. The other, let's say that three groups of archers came, which each one having about 4 people in it. Bell was able to kill the second and third group, although the first group was still able to shoot arrows down upon the knights and the squires. So let's say that at this point, 2 knights were killed and 7 squires were as well, and several more being wounded, but the bandits lost, let's say, 36 people, with 12 of the bandits being killed by Bell alone, which honestly did impress a lot of the knights. And well, as they started pushing onwards, with the other squires were able to take care of the first archer squad. Now everything that was left was the marauders, basically the heavily armored bandits, along with their leader, being a bandit which had a gigantic battle axe. And also, let's say that at this point, that guy was, yes, 7.3 feet tall, while Bell was about, let's say, he was quite large for his age, so let's say that he was 6.7 feet tall. And he immediately, like 2 knights were the first ones to go ahead and try to beat basically the leader of the bandit camp, but sadly both of them were killed by him in one fluent motion. And that's when Bell went ahead and started fighting with basically the leader of the bandits. And as that went on, Bell found himself on basically in a bridge, which was connecting how do you say it? Beneath them was a rapidly going river, and they were fighting on it, that being the bandit leader and Bell. So Bell couldn't exactly use his agility because they were on a bridge. Although as that was going on, the bandit leader was able to get a hit on Bell's arm. Basically, not exactly grazing it, but more like actually cutting into it with his axe. Well, basically breaking one of his bones there. Although at that point, Deku took only in one of his hands his bastard sword and was able to stab, or more accurately said, pierce through the armor of the bandit leader and basically pierce through his stomach area. After that, he immediately pulled out his sword again, basically spinning it in his arm. Then, instead of holding the hilt, he basically swung it around so that he was holding the blade. And then he used the hilt to, if any of you guys played For Honor, he basically used it to make the kill animation, where he basically swung his sword in one of his hands and just basically used the hilt of the sword to pierce the guy's neck. And that's what he did. Although, because just of how sheerly heavy the guy was, the bridge broke. Just as the captain of the knights went ahead and saw where Bell was, he saw that he was able to kill him, but then he saw that the bridge basically broke, with Bell falling into the rapid river. The camp was taken, and the captain of the knights, Jack, went ahead and tried to look for his squire. Eventually, they found... Actually, wait, no. Let's have a different side story, shall we say. Let's say that Bell found himself here again, he's conscious, and saw that the leader of the bandits was basically right next to him, dead. And Bell, although being a squire, he still looked through the corpse. Surprisingly, he found in a Minotaur's Minotaur's core. I think they're like crystal core. He basically found that on him, and he put it, let's say, in one of his gloves, so that he could properly use his arcane magic. And keep in mind that a Minotaur's core was a lot more powerful than just using the life energy of a regular human bandit. So yeah, he made his way through the forest until he was attacked by a group of wolves, shall we say. The wolves tried to kill him, but he was able to use his to use his arcane energy to quickly dispose of them. With the only wolf remaining was the alpha, who, well, just as Bell he wanted to use his arcane magic on him, he basically jumped to the side with Bell missing, and then he jumped on Bell. Bell used his basically broken arm to put it in between his jaws, basically in the wolf's mouth, so his throat wouldn't get basically slit by him. And that's when he used his other hand, which basically, even though it was light armor, he had like those, his gauntlets basically had those spikes on them, so he used it to basically started punching into the wolf's throat and eventually killing him. Now, Bell was rather proud that he was able to kill in a whole pack of wolves until he heard whimpering. That whimpering being of a baby wolf. So yeah, Bell was basically feeling like shit because he just killed the parents of a baby wolf. And now he probably noticed that he entered their territory and made it really close to their den. So yeah, Bell was now feeling like a complete and utter jackass for killing an entire family of innocent wolves. Although then he saw that they killed a couple of sheep, so he was somewhat okay with it. But he couldn't just leave the cub alone, so he took it with him. And that's when the knights finally found him. They saw that he had killed several wolves, and well, they also saw that he was carrying a wolf cub in one of his hands, along with the new fancy Minotaur crystal core. The knight captain Jack asked him from where did he get the Minotaur core and where did he get the cub. He simply told him that he had killed, that the bandit leader he killed had the crystal core on him. And he said that he killed the parents of this cub after an entire wolf pack basically jumped him. Oh, excuse me, guys. Basically jumped him. So, yeah. Jack was pretty understanding of it, and he asked Bell what was he gonna do with the cub. With Bell simply responding, I'm gonna raise it. Well, Jack was rather proud because Bell now became a wolf knight. Or at least, that is not a wolf knight, but he asked Bell if he was willing to make a contract with the baby wolf. That being, how do you say it again? A familiar. That being an animal which follows its master. And so, basically, Bell went ahead and to a sorcerer, who then explained what he needed to do to make a contract with the baby wolf. And that's exactly what he did. Basically cutting one of his fingers and then making a seal on one of his hands. And then making the same seal on one of the paws of the baby wolf. And just like that, the baby wolf and Bell basically became like family. Because that's what it is. A familiar is an extension of yourself. So, yeah. Anyways, guys, this is gonna be a good way to end off the video. I'm going to be making a second part, that is the fourth part to this series tomorrow. Hope you guys enjoyed and have a nice day.